Alright, what's up guys, PeterJaguars here again, and we are back with PeterJaguars Pick'em for Week 2 of the NFL season. Let's hop into it. So for update on the season, we went 8-8 in Week 1. A lot of those early games pretty much just toss-ups, all that good stuff, so it makes sense that we would be sitting right at 50%. But the first matchup of Week 2 was the Denver Broncos taking on the Kansas City Chiefs Thursday Night Football. You guys can see the tweet on screen right here. We did pick the Broncos, and we're correct with that one. Jamal Charles kind of screwing up and actually blowing the game for the Chiefs, though he did have some good runs earlier in the game. But regardless, we've got that one right, and up to 9-8 on the season. On to the fresh picks with Sunday's games, though. We've got Lions-Vikings, two teams sitting at 0-1 in the NFC North. Lions lost to the Chargers, Vikings to the 49ers, but I do think they have a pretty good chance to rebound this week. Teddy Bridgewater had an uncharacteristic game on Monday night. Definitely had some errant passes and all of that stuff, and Stafford was kind of iffy himself as well, making some really questionable reads up against that Chargers secondary. So we're going with the Vikings here. That is our lean. I don't know that this one's a guarantee by any means, and it sounds like the point spread is pretty close, but we're going with the home team. Tampa Bay, New Orleans, another battle of teams who lost in Week 1. Jameis Winston started very shaky and did start to improve later in the game, but they still lost big to the Titans, and I do think Winston does have a potential future ahead of him. Can't be written off after one game, but the Saints are dominant at home. Mercedes-Benz Superdome always be playing well there. They were close against the Cardinals last week, despite falling short at the end. Not really sure about Sean Payton's decision to be punting at the end of the game, and they never really saw the ball back down one score, if you guys were following it. But I do think they have a pretty good chance. Bucks are going down probably again right here, and they are in a rebuilding process, so it does make sense. Steelers are without Le'Veon Bell and Martavis Bryant for another game right here as they return to Pittsburgh, but taking on the 49ers. I do think they're going to be okay. D'Angelo Williams looked pretty nice against the Patriots last week. One thing that really impressed me about him is his patience, and Ben Roethlisberger is still the real deal. Can make throws, had some big chunk yardage plays and all of that stuff. I expect them to be putting up points, and even if they can't play a ton of defense because they will get exposed some of the time, they should be able to at least outscore the Niners. Rams-Redskins is an interesting NFC matchup. Of course, St. Louis beat Seattle in a big overtime upset last week, and the Redskins played all right against the Dolphins, ultimately not coming out with it in the end. But this one is really a close one. Could go either way. I am going to give Washington the edge because I think the Rams are publicly overrated right now. There's a ton of money on them in Vegas and all of that stuff, and people are saying they're great after they beat the Seahawks. They did the same thing to Seattle last year, winning off that fake punt and all. So it doesn't mean that they're a bad team, but I feel like they're hearing so much, getting them hyped up, and I'm not really sold on Foles or anything like that. So we are going to play Washington. Oh, and by the way, we're getting the Cardinals-Bears right here. Not really sure where the Bears helmet went. We've got a mini substitute for the time being if I can't find it. But anyhow, if I don't get a winning record with my picks this week, I am going to make a rap video explaining what is wrong with my picks or detailing some of the things that happen or whatever, all that good stuff. We got to be better this week. Week 1, sure, okay, 500, that makes sense. But going forward from here, I want to be doing well, and this is my little promise to you guys. If we cannot be at least 9-7 or better this week, no winning record, we will make that rap video, and maybe the Cardinals will aid us in avoiding having to do that. They're my pick over the Bears, who have another home game, and I actually think this one could definitely go their way. We're just leaning Arizona because of their defense, and Palmer has been looking all right. I keep going back and forth on Falcons-Giants. Don't really have a solid opinion either way right now. Both of these teams fell apart in their second halves, respectively, in some night games. Atlanta did play on Monday night, so maybe they have one last game to rest. But obviously, the Giants had a very hard-fought game against the Cowboys and could be demoralized after blowing that lead. Who knows? This one is very challenging. And there are going to be some easier picks going on later. But right now, I don't really know where to go. We're going with the home team Giants, I guess. And maybe they will get the win. But really, we're just going with New York for the heck of it. I know there are a lot of Patriots fans out there who could be upset with what I'm about to say. But guess what? They're playing the Bills in what's probably one of the biggest games of the last decade for Buffalo. They're finally a competitive team, looking good in the AFC East. Tyrod Taylor should be able to take down some decent teams. Their defense is great. Rex Ryan seems to have Brady's number a lot of the time. And therefore, I'm going with Buffalo. Pats were all right against the Steelers in that opener, but their defense had some trouble, and I think Tyrod Taylor is going to make some plays down the field. Percy Harvin, LaShawn McCoy, good weapons to be looking for, and Buffalo is one of my biggest plays of the week. Panthers are 1-0 while the Texans are 0-1 in this cross-conference showdown, but Luke Kuechly will be out suffering a concussion as the Panthers took down my Jags last week. Texans pass rush and all is going to be ferocious, and I'm a little worried that Cam Newton is going to be running for his life, but do I have faith in Ryan Mallett or Brian Hoyer, whoever the heck the Texans want to put out at quarterback? No, so guess what? They're out right here. Maybe a loss for the AFC South team. Jags can stay level with them, even if we do grab another L. Like the Rams, the Titans are one of the most overrated teams in football right now. That doesn't mean they're not very good, but around 80-90% of the public betting money in Vegas is on them as road favorites, which is pretty surprising for a team that a week ago we were very uncertain about. But hey, that's what happens. Mariota has a pretty good week one, and people are going to be overreacting, saying he's the best quarterback ever and all of that stuff. So maybe he'll end up being great, but I'm not too sure or sold on the team for the time being. Guess what? I have this AFC South bias. All the other AFC South teams suck. Guess what? You guys are out. Nothing against the Titans, but we going with Johnny Football. He'll probably make some bad decisions, but he'll also do something cool. And therefore, we're going with Cleveland. Chargers-Bengals is the next matchup here. We were right in giving San Diego the win last week. A lot of people doubted that one in the comments section, but they did take down Detroit. But now it's another tough test in Cincinnati, and if they could pull out this one, it would definitely be a great start to the season for them. Schedule gets a little bit easier later on, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do that. It's a West Coast team traveling to the East Coast for an early game. G.J. Fluker is out, which is actually really important because Geno Atkins is most likely going to be pouncing in that backfield and stuffing a lot of stuff. Melvin Gordon was pretty good. Danny Wood had a couple TDs, but I'm worried about that Fluker injury. And because of that, along with the traveling and the fact that they could probably be worn down from last week, we are giving Cincy the edge. Do I really have to do this again? Do we actually have to be picking against my Jags in another home matchup? I think we do. I'm on the Tannehill bandwagon, and I really hate to say this, but I didn't like the way Bortles was looking in the second half at all last week. The pick six he threw was a terrible read, little flat zone. Dude jumps it easily, runs it back for 6. I think he took 5 sacks, which is also far too many. Something he tends to do, hold on to the ball too long, and Miami has a great pass rush. Guys who are going to be getting in, doing all that stuff. I don't really see a big game for Bortles, even if Yeldon is able to get some good yardage on the ground. So we're heading with Miami. Few more games to go, and if you guys are currently enjoying this video, make sure to spike that like button right now. Love seeing the support, and subscribe as well. We're going to have some more good picks coming here, and you don't want to be missing out on that rap video if we can't get a winning record this week, along with all the Madden 16 content and stuff that we've been putting out recently and is still yet to come. But anyhow, this is what we've got. Raiders helmet rolling over. It's like they want to lose again. Derek Carr getting injured really screwed them over last week, and I don't think they would have won that game anyway, but it got really ugly against the Bengals in a large part because of that. And I guess if they're going to roll over and this helmet doesn't want to see a win, then this helmet doesn't want to see a win. I'd love to see the Raiders do well. I have a lot of respect for that franchise, but the Ravens right now are the better team. Defense is looking very solid, and they shouldn't have too much trouble getting a W. Have to say, the NFC East may have the best intra-division matchups. The fans of these teams go crazy, and it seems like any of these games could go either way, regardless of where it's played, how good the teams are that year, or any of that stuff. Cowboys-Eagles, the one we're looking at right here. Dez Bryant out with his foot injury. Guess who had him as the second-round pick on their fantasy lineup? Yep. Yeah, and I also got Mike Evans, who's got a bum hamstring. But anyhow, enough about my fantasy woes. That is going to be somewhat of an issue because Dez would have burned this Eagles secondary. I'm telling you, if he gets back somehow for their second matchup, he is going to tear those guys apart. Fletcher Cox, though, probably the best guy from the Friends sub-in on Philly on that Monday night game against the Falcons. And again, it's kind of hard to figure out the mentality of some of these teams. They lost close, but had Cody Parkey made a field goal, they easily could have won that game. Chip Kelly's offense can be very tough to stop. Once it gets into a rhythm, we'll see if they can get back how they were doing in the preseason. The Eagles were the preseason winners, oh my god. But are they actually going to deliver in the regular season? I think this is the game where they do finally start to show up. The Cowboys' offense a little bit slowed down without Dez. Still have Jason Witten and Terrence Williams, but still not as many playmakers out there. Let's see how Philly can do. So I figured the Seahawks would be pissed after losing the Super Bowl and listed that as one of the reasons to be taking them over the Rams in a game that they lost. Well, if they were mad then, they are pissed the heck off now. Oh my god, that team is going to be hyped going into Lambeau, but it's one of the most challenging places to play. Brian Bulaga is hurt. That's going to be big. I'm sure the Seahawks are going to be sending all types of rushes from that side, hoping to get to Rodgers, but guess who's the best quarterback in the league to be countering that type of pressure? Mr. Discount Double Check, and I think he's going to be able to put in some work. I'm not completely sure that even Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor can keep this team from putting up 20, 30 points, and they can always grind Lacey if they need to do that. So we're taking Green Bay right here, a great Sunday night game. Very much looking forward to that one, and it should be a lot of fun. And lastly, our Monday night matchup, Jets-Colts. I'm pretty sure the Jets are only on here for ratings because the big market. Like, actually, does anyone think they're going to beat the Colts outright? If you do, raise your hand right now, and maybe you'll be right, and maybe I'll give you kudos. But right now, I don't really see the Colts falling in another game. Yes, they lost to the Bills. Andrew Luck was slow to start, but he didn't lose all his skills overnight or something like that. He's still a great young quarterback. As much as I hate to be facing him in my division, this is the AFC South team that I'm confident in getting a victory. There you have it, 16 games, 16 picks for week 2. One last look at the winners for the week, and that is going to be it for the video. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more vids. Again, make sure to spike that like button, subscribe for tons more content, and that is going to be pretty much it here. Good luck to everyone's teams. But anyway, guys, I'm out. Peace.